All right. We're up and running with the tiebreaker. Wait, and it's an intense moment. What's this? Oh, this knight just got in and won a pawn, huh? This should be here. Oh. So white was down a pawn and just got the pawn back. It's still a game to play. Hey, Chess Stock. Let everybody know I'm going to go grab some breakfast, but we got the position up. Man, they got to the endgame really fast, huh? 20 moves, lots of trades. Fast pace of trades. I'll be right back. Ooh la la. Food for me? What a day. Do you guys think if I just left the stream running and wasn't even in the room that we would get many follows and likes and subs and love if we just left an empty thing running? How's it going, everybody? How's it going? It would allow you guys to get more dojo gold, right? If we just left it running all the time, even when we weren't here, then you could leave it, your computer's watching it when you're not here either. We could all be together all the time without ever being there. So anyway, for all those who don't know, this is a tiebreak match. And there are 3 people involved in the tiebreak, so they're playing one game against each of the other 2 people for a total of 3 rounds. I put the results so far down here. Today's the 3rd of the games. The first game, Steve McCarrot played white against Comrade Eyelash, and it ended in a draw. In the second game, Comrade Eyelash won as white yesterday against Alexa, and today Alexa's got his white game, and Steve McCarrot is black. And as I understand the way like points and standings and things work, Steve McCarrot needs to win this game as black in order to tie with Comrade Eyelash in the tiebreaker. And if they tie the tiebreaker, then they get to play yet another tie-breaking game just between the 2 of them. However, at the moment, if we look at this position, it looks like Alexa's not giving Steve any reason to dream of winning the game, right? It does line up well with the show that's coming up next, which is an episode of Endgame Sensei, because here we've got the kind of position that Jesse would give Kosti and I to play. I mean, right here. This is exactly the kind of thing Jesse would give us. But it does not line up with the kind of position that McCarrot would want to win, because he's facing the bishop pair and he's got an isolated pawn and he doesn't have a majority anywhere. He doesn't have a single weakness in Alexa's position to hook onto. There's just nothing in this entire position that is happy for Black, really. And certainly he could like fight his hardest, and it's not impossible to draw or anything. It's not like White's winning, but generally a position like this is, you just suffer for a draw, but you never win. Oh, Scott's right. There is one advantage in Black's camp. Black's king is better placed. That's right. But there would need to be at least one more piece trade before this king could possibly penetrate anywhere. So it's hard for Black to make use of that. But yeah, you're right. You're right. The white king would rather be on d3. So Black has an advantage. Good call. If Alexa wins, though, it does not create a rematch with Eyelash, because Alexa's point total, maybe I'm getting this wrong, but I think Alexa's point total would be 1 out of 2, 1 win and 1 loss. And Eyelash already finished with 1.5 points out of 2. Can I explain what happened in the weird opening? Yeah, maybe so. Okay. I know this variation. I play it with both colors. So e4 here from White is taking advantage of Black not playing knight f6, right? It means White controls e4. But the point of it, the point of this from Black is basically it depends on this check right here. Basically, if White retreats the knight, then Black got this development for free, and White doesn't have the knight on the really good square. And there's a couple different things you can do as Black here, but I think that what I played here once in a tournament, I think, was c5, immediately countering White's center and trying to play knight c6. But there's probably one or two reasonable ways to play this position as Black. It's probably not terrible for Black. Although, I mean, also not terrible for White. Playable, even though people very, very rarely play this knight c3 move. And then the other main move here after bishop check is to block with the bishop. Now, here Black's forced to accept this pawn sacrifice, which gets complicated, because if Black takes here, White takes here, then Black's really getting into a very bad position. Does that make sense? Why? Because look, Black played the c6 move to hold d5, but then trades. That means this move that was played to hold d5 didn't hold d5. So that's almost like a lost move, right? It's just blocking your own knight. It's not strong pointing the center. Also, Black spends a move capturing, White recaptures. So now White's knight is on a better square. Then Black loses a tempo here with the famous bishop check mechanism, where then your bishop's undefended, so you trade it and your opponent gets another recapture, improving a piece. So now White's got advantage in the center, advantage in piece placement, advantage in development, and Black's left with this bishop. So this position here is like immediately abysmal, critical, terrible for Black. Okay, even though it doesn't look that exciting. So those couple little concessions from Black go a long way. So that means after bishop d2, Black has to take White's center pawn. White takes on b4 to gain supremacy, hopefully from White's perspective, on the dark squares. Bishop e2, knight a6. Yeah, there's a number of different lines here for Black. Knight a6 is one of them, developing the knight while tempoing the bishop on b4. White threatens checkmate. Black stops checkmate. White leaves the bishop hanging because of this idea. No good way for black to deal with this. For example, bishop here, check, here, take this, and these are hanging. Or queen h4, check, then take the rook and continue the rampage, right? The black pieces are just dangly. Awesome, David Menchik, thank you. I'm going to pull that up. Unable to follow David Menchik. If you're listening, David, how do I find your game in live chess? Is your name different than David Menchik on chess.com? I feel like it's something like that. Maybe it's Menchik David instead of David Menchik. Let me try that. Oh, yeah, you're saying I'm right. I thought I remembered saying that. Oh, and you're playing against the potato. This is exciting, guys. This is basically a championship game for our first April Classical. As I recall, I haven't been looking at the standings too carefully thanks to our army of volunteer TDs. Love you guys. But as I understand it, Menchik David definitely is 3-0, and I think Major Batata, is also 3-0 or something like that. Basically, I think whoever wins this game would probably have the top score in the April Classical. JB confirms. So that's an exciting game to follow as well for us. Yeah, excellent. And just started. Hours left of exciting play. All right, Menchik. See you later. Have fun. Have a great game. Thanks for pinging us to let us know this was going on. I think it's a Fuji Smurberg. That's what we get the most often. It was amazing. Yeah, Max, there's no prize involved in the April Classical. In the tiebreaker from the March Classical, there is one prize, a beautiful watch donated by Cartier Tank. So you see if this bishop's taken, there's really no defense to rook d1. All kinds of apples are good. I don't think it matters too much. I mean, I don't mean it doesn't matter at all, but I mean, if I were eating the second best kind of apple, it would still be a good apple. Honey Crisp was designed to be the best. I'm sure there are lots of apples that were designed to be the best. You're watching Dojo in the forest? Oh man, that's nice, Falk. Okay, so bishop d7 is played by black. Now if white plays, rook d1 or castles queenside, black is going to defend with rook d8. Wait, there's an apple that's too expensive? Honey Crisps are too expensive? Dang, they must really be a designer apple. That's crazy. I always thought of apples as being like the simple normal of fruit. Oh yeah, Chess Games. That game was crazy yesterday. At the end, the early part was really, really instructive, and then it just sort of like exploded into chaos. Honeycrisp cost 2-1 other apples, huh? Wow. Okay, so the bishop, can't hang out on a5 forever. It heads to this good diagonal. Knight e5 here because if you play a move like rook d1, putting pressure, black now plans to play queen c6 and trade your queen. We all know this game leads to a queen trade really soon, for those of us who saw the current position. But that doesn't mean white wants a queen trade here, right? If you were white, would anybody here want a queen trade? So knight e5 stops queen c6. That makes sense. Rook d8, rook d1, queen a8, bishop f3. And black works for that queen trade. I don't know, Findle. Honeycrisp apples have honeybee honey inside of them? Glad you agree, Max. That's right. My calculation is also that black has to win in order to tie the tiebreak. We have a request for what was going on if black played queen g2. Presumably the first move would be bishop f3 to not lose the rook. This queen would have to move to one of these squares, let's say. Hang on, one more idea. I don't know what that is, Findle. Is that another kind of apple? You guys are really into the different kinds of apples. I don't care, I just eat apples. You guys think black has a defense here? We've got another classical game from the 1650 section. Garlic bread is good too. I mean, everything's good. You see, I've got other good things here on my plate too. Auditory stimulation YouTube channels. Nope, not trying to do that, Findle. Just trying. This is my version of multitasking. I've been skipping too many meals and not feeling so well, so. Now we got this threat. Bishop g7. Apple flavored bread sounds good. You can make great money off of an audio stimulation YouTube channel. Add that to the long list of things you shouldn't be able to make money off of. Okay. Drit says it's dead, so we go back to black groveling for the queen trade. Now in this position, white's just going to play rook d1, attack this bishop more, and then eventually play bishop c6 to win material. Not necessarily max Kroll. It depends who registers, right? If we get exactly the same registrants, then yes, we'll cut it off at the same points approximately. But if we get a different set of registrants, we'll cut it off to make, 5 equal size sections probably. So that section might end up being 1600 to 1800 or 1700 to 1900 or who knows. Nobody yet. We'll find out on Sunday. I guess there's only a few days to register. I should have put it up a little bit sooner, but oh well, hopefully people find out. If you guys want to help passing the news around about the Classical to your buddies, do so, because there are only a few days for people to register for the first round. I mean, it's no big deal if people register for the second round and miss the first round, and we give them half-point buys. But the more people register for the first round, the more accurately we can divide up the tournament into good-sized sections. So just a little thing that can be helpful there. A bread-flavored apple. It hasn't been fun. Sorry, Max. Well, has it been unfun enough to drop you below 1850? To push you down into the next section, maybe? If you're wondering what some of the best possible foods are that you can make with 2 ingredients, quesadilla is high on that list as well, since you guys are talking food and apples and stuff. With only 2 ingredients, what can you make? I mean, you can't even make bread with 2 ingredients, right? You need flour, water, and salt, minimum, for a simple bread, I think. I'm sure there's flour, water, and salt in my tortilla. Anyway. Quesadilla is pretty good. Have I tried getting a feature from Gotham Chess? No, Findle. We have not begged for features from anybody big yet. We might at some point. Not saying we're too proud to do it, but we haven't done it. We've just focused on our content. Okay, so black untangles the bishop here. At some point, white was going to play a move like bishop c6 otherwise, and then if bishop takes, knight check. Yeah, so black tried to untangle here. I wonder, maybe before we go on, we could ask if there was anything black could do other than the mass simplification here. Down to 1830, okay. So you have to hope that this next section doesn't start at 1815 or 1820 or something. That's right. We had Findle on the show. If we use your name in a YouTube clickbait, maybe we could take off as a channel. Knight b8 would be the move, right? That would be the big alternative. And what do you guys think? How's black holding together with knight b8? Dripman says, sort of strategically, tournament situation-wise, it makes sense for black to try something like this. To have some kind of winning chance, perhaps. And then next move for black could be like knight e8. Right? Defending g7, kicking the rook out or back a little bit, gaining some space. It still looks tough for black because black can't move a lot. Maybe after knight e8, black could play f6 and kick this knight off of the bishop and start to relieve some of the tension. So if McCarrot wins this as black and ties with Sophie Rose, Comrade Eyelash, then they play an Armageddon classical game against each other, just the two of them. So I think it's something like 90 minutes for white and 60 minutes for black. And black has draw odds. And then a 30-second increment like this game. Chess boxing is really hard to do over the internet. Hey, Marion. The people who win on the Gauntlet Findle just get money. We have cash prizes for our famous guests. And for rank and file dojoers, we just say, we got some good experience, we had fun. That's right, Bindle. Don't feel bad. The show's only exciting if, if you guys also beat our guests sometimes, right? If the guests always win every game they play, then there isn't the right amount of drama. You should actually feel good. We need you guys to occasionally beat these super players who come in. We need that. Okay? We absolutely need that. The only way is exciting is if you guys come in strong and make it an actual challenge. You'll be done by midnight? That's not too bad, Desert Pickle. That's not too bad. We got Pleef back in the house. No. That's the end of the tournament, Desert Pagel. That's the end. Oh, just lost the April Classical round 4 game. Nice. That's very nice of you to say, Thorbittles. We need 150 if we want to hear a rap at 3, We'll say the Mega Rapid's not over until the skinny commentator sings. No breaks, Desert Pagel. Nope. Only the breaks that you create for yourself by finishing a game faster than the others. Basically, since we're going to have we'll definitely have 100 people playing. Hopefully, quite a bit more than that. With over 100 people playing, somebody's game is going to go 35, 40 minutes. So if you ever finish a game of yours in 10 or 15 minutes, which will happen a couple times during the day, then you'll get, a 20-minute break right there, or a 30-minute break even. Playing fast definitely has downsides. It's not the goal of a tournament to not use your time well or anything like that. That's not the goal of a tournament. But if you have 1 or 2 fast games somewhere in that 8 rounds, it can be somewhat helpful. Maybe if you play super high up or super far down at some point, because people do get bounced around in this tournament. It's all one section. If you play somebody super high and get smoked, or play somebody super low and crush them, then that could give you a little break somewhere in the tournament. All right, we're going to go to the live position in the game. Trade. Takes a pawn. King e7. Knight here. King d6. This is where we had been before, and now b3 was played. A simple move that I expected. Bishop gets kicked back. a3 to at some point play b4, but also to stop knight b4. So this piece stays in here. Knight c7. g4, grabbing space. Yeah, this is how bishops play. They take all the space away from the knights. They want to restrain these pieces, take away their squares, force them further and further back. As you know, a knight on this rank only has maximum of 4 moves instead of 8, and a knight on this rank here has a maximum of 6 moves. So actually, if you're able to push the knights back, you can start making them into weaker and weaker pieces. And hence the pushing. Hence the pushing, right? Instead of, you guys may have expected the king to rush into the center, but there's not yet space to penetrate with the king, so white prefers to just fight with their minor pieces and start placing the pawns to crush the opponent's knights. Nice, JB. That's worth it. That's worth it. In the first round, yeah, it's a big Swiss. So in the first round, I would expect that you'll play somebody easily 600 points lower rated than you. Where do you guys think like the halfway cut would be? People who've played in previous Mega Rapids, I feel like the split might be somewhere around 1600, which means people in the 1600s might play opponents rated like 400 or 500, and people in the 1500s might play opponents rated like 2200. I think it might be about like that in the first round. And normally we split all our tournaments into sections now that we've got enough players to do so. So the Mega Rapid is also sort of a special opportunity for some of you to have that experience of playing people like super high rated. If you have a good tournament, you could play a couple really high rated people. It's just sort of like a fun, different thing. And then there's still, there's 8 rounds. So even if you play 1 or 2 people with a wildly different rating than you, you'll still get in several games with people close to you in rating by the end of the day. The Gauntlet is on a 2-week break and will resume with the official regular season in 2.5 weeks. So we're not yet releasing the schedule of who's playing when because, it just doesn't work for the contestants to know. I think it's basically going to be sort of like the scheduling is going to be a secret for the Gauntlet throughout, and you'll just have to see who shows up each week. But the way to improve, Pleafers, is by playing. That's the thing. The way to improve is by playing. There's not something you can do so that the next time you play, you'll be better. All you can do is like continue playing and getting better. That's just how it works. That's awesome. If you don't get what you did wrong, that means you didn't make mistakes that you used to make and that you know about, Pleafers. You made new mistakes, which means you avoided your old mistakes, which means you're improving. That's really good. The best way to lose is to lose a game where you don't know what you did wrong. People hate losing games where they know exactly what they did wrong. Like they make a mistake and they're like, oh, I did it again. People hate that. That's probably one of people's least favorite things about chess. Really. So just ask your opponent what you did wrong, right? And maybe your opponent can tell you something. And if your opponent doesn't want to chat about the game, then do what JB's saying. Find a Discord channel, post a link, ask people about it. No, but it's super to lose a game which you don't know why you lost it. The prize money some of the prize money rolled over, JB, because 2 of the top 3 scores in our preseason opted to not have their cash prizes, but instead be reinvited to the regular season. So we had a big chunk of money that rolls over to the regular season. We're also going to continually raise money throughout the regular season to see that pot grow in order to try and attract, the top 10 players in the world to come in and try their hands at it. Yeah. Yeah, so I think we raised about $1,000 during the 8-week regular season. The goal was to raise $800, and I think we raised like $1,000. And I think one player got a payout of about $200, and the first and second place players, Ray Robs, Georg Meyer and Ray Robson each opted for a reinvite. So they chose not to take their cash prize. That means their money goes to the regular season. So that's like $500 and $300 about that already goes into the regular season. Yeah, third place was Priyadarshan Kanapan. Third place in the preseason. Yeah. So he got the $50 appearance fee and about $200 from the prize fund. I have to send that out to him this week. Got to do some accounting. Whoa, what happened here? A peace trade? Oh, the peace threatened to come out, right? And Alexa said, nobody gets out. Nobody gets out. And then it says to the knight, get back in your hole. He wanted the knight to go to e8, but McCarrot said no. If the knight goes to e8, see how they're already starting to trip over each other? And look, how many moves does this knight have? Like currently 0. Do you guys see what the bishops are trying to do there? That's where they want the knights. You know, push to the second and first ranks, low on moves. How many squares does this knight have? Let's look at it. It can't go here, here, or here, or here. So it only has 2 squares it can go to. Oh, wait, sorry, it can't go to that one either. Let's scratch that. So it can only go to a6, which is where it came from. Do you see how that could be like a losing arrangement of knights? Do you guys see what the pawns have done to these knights? Even if they weren't in each other's way, these knights would have the following circuit. Knight c7 to a6 to c7 to e8. That's it. Right? And black would fight, you know, e5, knight e6. You try and find some way to dig them out a little bit, but this is sort of like what white wants to do to knights. That's why people say in some situations that a bishop pair can outplay knights. It really involves your pawn play. You need to restrict your opponent's knights with your pawns to show the superiority of your bishop pair. Okay, so knight h7 is played, looking to trade this pawn for this pawn. Of course, Alexa says no, right? Himself, because he doesn't want this knight coming back out. And he doesn't want to trade pawns, right? His pawns are very important for limiting these pieces. So now we get e5 has been played by McCarrot. And we're going to see bishop e4 going after this. Now he probably plays knight f8. Then this knight is going to come into the game. And we'll see if Alexa can stop that. Maybe on knight f8, he's looking at the move f4. That will be a classic move. Spaghetti, this is helpful, like the way Alexa's playing is very instructive, right? Shoot with your questions, John Z. It depends on the position, Findle, but generally bishops are a little bit better than knights. And when they're paired up like this, they're a lot better than knights. Thanks for the Bezos bucks, Phyllis Dietrichson, and once again, welcome to the dojo. Okay, John Z's question is, if it goes knight f8, f4, these are not real moves, they're just hypothetical, then knight a6? What? Knight a6 here? White can take on e5. Why does your line go bishop b2 now? I got it wrong, right? Knight e8. Okay, earlier. Okay, sorry, earlier. This position, knight e8. Sorry. If he f4. Okay, hang on. So here it would have been bishop e4, right? Would have been the next move from white. And then if he f4, then knight a6, bishop b2, knight b8, knight c6 to e7, then to f5. Okay, so you want to bring this knight to f5, huh? Okay. I mean, by the time you get there, White's won 1 pawn. And then if you move this knight away, White's going to take another pawn. If you defend it, White might trade off their bishop pair for this, because that's 2 connected passers. Looking pretty rough. This knight is still far away from f5. That is a good square for it. Uh-oh, king f7. Wait, are you still trying to are you still trying to fight this for black? Are you trying to fight against your destiny? There's no hope. There's just no hope. We can't just go down 2 pawns, John Z. It's death. Tough position. Let's check in on Menchik and Potato for 1 second, shall we, guys? All right, try that, JB. I tried updating the MooBot. All right, here's the Menchik game against Potato. Oh, very, very similar opening to that other one, right? D takes e4 traded and a bishop pair for White. All right. So, Chessie, that's fine. It's a good question. Alexa and McCarrot are 2 of the sort of like stronger dojoers out there. They finished at the top of our weekend Swiss in March. In March, we ran a 4-round classical time control Swiss tournament on the weekend, like what a normal OTB tournament would have been like, but online, and with multiple schedules to accommodate people on different continents, which I guess is not typical OTB. But anyway, and they were in the top section, the like 1800 plus section, and finished at the top along with Comrade Eyelash. So the 3 of them are playing a tiebreaker to see who should have won that tournament. Round 4 classical post-mortem. Let's see, Pleafers. I think it's Saturday night, right? Post-mortem classical edition is Saturday night. That's 2 nights from now, Pleaf. Tonight, I'm doing the group lessons, the 12 to 1400 and 14 to 1600 class. And Friday, we've got an afternoon U.S. chess school class with Kavutsky, but we don't have an evening show right now for Friday. And Saturday evening, we've got the post-mortem classical games for round 4. All right. This one is not part of the tiebreak, Flachspieler. That's right. This one is part of the April Classical. It's just round 4 of the April Classical. And actually, they happen to be tied for first place in the top section of the April Classical. So it's a very, very top game as well. Not a tiebreaker, but an actual regular time decider. Unless it's a draw, then maybe they can play a tiebreaker next week or next month. You thought it was Monday right now. Whew. Well, if you've got a job, you'll probably be happy to hear that it's Thursday, right? It's a comparison point. Phyllis finished near the bottom. It may not help us get partner. Maybe that's why we never get partner, Hokie. Because they've seen our prime command. Findle, I'm teaching a private chess lesson this afternoon in a few hours. 2 p.m. Pacific after Endgame Sensei. Endgame Sensei is at noon. Then we'll roll into a private lesson, some rapid speed run from Kostya, then the group lessons. Today's a big day. Today's a long dojo day. Pace yourselves, folks. Tomorrow also pace yourselves with the mega rapid, but that's why we got to have our breakfast here on camera today, because there's no way we're doing like a 12-hour day of streaming without eating at some point. Like Desert Pagel, you want to travel to some remote cabin with a bunch of chessboards and notebooks and pencils, and Jesse Cry has us all write lines in the books about our games. No computers allowed. There will be like a rebel cabin where Kostya's got like a hidden computer, a bootleg, where people can check some evaluations. That's right, Alpha Can. If we hit 15,000 followers by May 31st, it'll be me plus Chloe versus Kostya plus Maya in Hand and Brain. Yeah, maybe for the second season, Findle. When we started the first season, I don't think that feature was live for chess.com, and we have to keep all the point system, consistent for the whole first season so that the scores can be compared from week to week. But I definitely want to investigate that chess.com feature with odds and see, yeah, maybe we can incorporate that in season 2. Yeah, Desert Pagel, Kostya had started the Discord server prior to the pandemic, but this like project of Kostya, Jesse, and I, working together to create instructional and occasionally entertaining chess materials, that only started during the pandemic. But we were already talking about it before the pandemic. Like I was planning to go back to OTB chess last, June when the school year would end and my current job at the time would end, and we were planning to sort of launch dojo, and then the pandemic happened. Yeah, Kostya had the what were the groups called? There was like the Warriors and something like that, right? So if he had some small group classes he was teaching at different levels. I think one of them was the Warrior group. Okay, so what do we think of this position? I mean, obviously good for white, basically, just because of the bishop pair. Look at that. Another little pawn trying to limit this knight. At least black's got their good bishop that fits into this pawn structure well. This is much less bad for black than this one here. Especially since a pawn has like bit the dust by now. Wow, and now a knight is going down? Oh, this one's all over. Let's just see the end of this for a second. This was about the end. G5, H4, E5, bishop E4. Now here, we were looking at knight F8, F4, but after 10 minutes of thought, McCarrot decided to instead play knight E6, getting one piece out. Bishop takes, and now the knight sack was the point. 10 seconds to make that follow-up. I don't see the point yet. If this move here, which is what we would sort of expect, white can go bishop F5 probably. With the idea that on knight D4, you can just take it. And then you've got a winning king and pawn ending for white, because this knight can't get out of the bishop. Even if black plays G6, you just stay on this diagonal, and the knight can never get out through H7, right? So the knight can't get past this bishop. You force a king and pawn ending. Actually, can you win this king and pawn ending? Let me just think. So we can bring our pawns to these squares at some point. And then... yeah, black doesn't have enough room to mark time. This is winning. Yeah, this is winning. We played G6 for black at some point here to save this position. Oh, as soon as I traded bishop for knight, I played here. Oh, yeah, but black could have played, sorry, G6, bishop here, knight here, right? And then we have to ask ourselves if this is winning. Now black has king F5 and even threatening to take the pawn before we do this. Now it's not winning. Wow. Okay. So G6 totally changes it. We can't win this king and pawn ending now. So now on this move, you would have to play like this for white. F5 takes, bishop takes, creating the two connected passed pawns. This knight could now dodge away and keep the game sort of a bit more interesting. Presumably, this position is still winning for white, but it's not so simple at all. Okay, so that's interesting to see. So, yeah, I mean, this piece sack doesn't seem necessary. But now Alexa's really thinking, is there something to this that I'm not seeing? It's this move. It's this move. There's a reason. We needed to have some faith in McCarrot. McCarrot had an idea all along, folks. What a sick, sick carrot. This hasn't been played yet, folks, but, you know, this is surely the point. Boom, look at the knight covering both bishop moves. Unbelievable. As Phyllis says, I mean, like in a position like this, most people would just resign as black. And I don't mean necessarily they would like click the resign button, but in their head, they would have given up. And so they would stop finding ideas like this. Right? Like in a position like this, you're like, ugh, I'll play knight f8 to not lose a pawn yet, you know, and your opponent plays f4, and then, you know, a couple moves later, you resign. But man, takes. Holy canoodly. That is sick. And Alexa did not see it coming, I think, even when playing bishop takes g6. I think Alexa hadn't yet seen it coming at this point here. 2 minutes were spent on bishop takes g6. But I don't think he planned on this. Now it's just a draw, says Lane. That's a very, very fast evaluation, Lane. It's probably still a mess, no? Why would it be just a draw? Which bishop to keep? Which bishop to keep? The knights have busted out, though, dude. They got out of that prison. They got out of that prison. That was crazy. Only one of them came out alive, true, but whew, made it all worth it. If white grabs this pawn with check, then after they save this bishop, black will win back the pawn with knight h3 to g5. Black's not even going to be down a pawn there, because the king will take away the square bishop f5, the only square to stop yet another fork. This is why some people just hate playing against knights, you know, because it's like you just can't keep up with all their stupid trickery. This position here is better for black now, by the way, with just this bishop and the black king threatening to come in here. Just the general black presence in the center is pretty good here. Even though there's pawns on two sides of the board and I like bishops better and blah, 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 white's in trouble right here. Every position is its own position. I mean, have to be able to look at it. Yeah, this knight is just hitting everything. And now it's a problem that this king's not centralized. This king needs to get into the game in a hurry now, because now there's few enough pieces that it's a big deal. Alexa played a long time without the king, and he was doing things that made total sense. I mean, I thought he was just teaching us a lesson, right? I thought he was just teaching us a lesson about the bishop pair. And now it's like, oh no, this king better get in the game, because this is about to be bad. Maybe in that case, bishop e4 is reasonable. No, bishop f5 is reasonable. So that when the knight checks, you can use that as a tempo. And the knight takes your bishop, you get another tempo, and your king starts getting in the game. Yeah, Alexa may think for a while here. I mean, still got 45 minutes, and to know which bishop to keep, like, do I want a dark squared or a light squared bishop? I think none of us know the answer yet. So Alexa, that's the kind of thing you think about a long time. Jesse would maybe say he would have to like talk to his gods about it. No, talk to your gods about your strengths and weaknesses. That's not at all what Jesse would say about this. Jesse would say that McCarrot's just asking him some questions. That's what it would be, right? McCarrot's just asking, you know, what do you want to do? Which bishop do you want? It's just a question, man. Neither bishop is perfect. It's maybe Carrot the one who's knocking. That's right, Phyllis. Absolutely right. Dead on right there. Maybe after all this, it's Carrot who's knocking. Okay. I think you could go bishop e4, knight check, king up, knight takes bishop, king f3. And then if trades, your king will be good on e4. Well, it'll be a draw. And if it doesn't trade, at least your king and bishop are covering the entry points for the black king. That can make some sense here. Does the knight get trapped after bishop c2? Well, that needs to be investigated. We need to investigate JSAD's question. That's an important question. That's a very important question. I love how each of you has a piece of Jesse in you at this point. You can't go anywhere without bringing him with you. Then Black started asking all kinds of questions. Exactly, Desert Pale. Now when you're playing your games, you can talk to your pieces and you can have Jesse give you advice in the game. You can be like, Jesse, what's going on here? And he'll tell you. He'll tell you what's going on. b5. Free the steed. Free the steed. I think that's the only move that frees the steed. Mm-hmm. Nice, Phyllis. I'm glad you were on the show yesterday. And this position is still worrisome for white, because the weird thing is after this, if you trade, you're giving the black king another like road in. I guess maybe you play a4, just trying to draw by keeping it locked, right? But then black has time for this. You come here and black comes here. Can white draw? Black's got the idea of king f5. Black's got Tempe up the wazoo. Ugh. Okay, something's happened in the game. What did Alexa choose? Alexa chose bishop c2, the very move that we were just asking about. If Carrot weren't such a great name, we would call him Steve McResource. I've seen Carrot draw some bad positions before. Carrot is a very, very resourceful little carrot. And little, like, tiger-like thing. Oh, what a cute tiger. Can the players read the chat, Putsy? I sure hope not. I sure hope not. They shouldn't be. They should just be playing their game. Bishop d2, knight takes g6, a4. Sure, we can have a look. So here you want to play a4. And you can't find a great idea for black. What idea have you looked at for black here, Dritman? What not great ideas did you look at? I hear you evaluating, Drit. But what idea did you come up with for black? Like, in your head, what move did you play for black here? Okay, more ideas, more evaluations, more ideas. Black's perspective. You're black, you've got to make a move. What do you move here? 97? Where are you going? Mm-hmm. I think those are two different alternatives, right? Knight e7 or king e6. You could maneuver your knight, or you could maneuver your king here. Knight e7 to f5. Are you worried for black after knight e7 to f5? Knight e7 f4 worries you. Yeah. Trying to get the bishop access to some diagonals, right? Okay, so black should be okay with this move of e4 with knight f5, right? But yeah, the right move for black is your other one that you're mentioning, king e6. You just bring the king here, and then you play knight f4 once your king's on f5, and this pawn dies. White's already down a pawn for nothing here. Or in the words of Josh Wayskin, he's lost, but he doesn't know it. Except actually it would be like he's 85% chance of lost, but he doesn't know it. Because, I mean, it's not yet so clear. Yeah. Take the draw and we can share the tiebreaker. All right. So the first thing to look at in a position like this is the king, actually, Drit. First look at the king, then look at knight maneuvers. Okay, if you can activate the king, it's huge. The first move I looked at in this position was a stupid move, Drit. The first move I looked at was e4. That was my first instinct. Why? Because I wanted my king like as centralized as possible. That's the first move that popped into my head. And then, it could go to f5 or it could go here, right? And then I realized, well, like the pawn's already like protected. And then I realized, well, like white could play bishop c3 and my king can't go through e5. And wait, what do I do about g7? And I was like, well, I mean, I can still skirmish with knight f4. It's not like you'll see me resign here. Black's still doing fine. But then I realized, like, do I even need e4? What if I just start moving my king towards where it should be? And I was like, oh yeah, that 85% wins for black. Yeah, white can draw if black plays knight f4 in that position there. That's correct. I think with that g6 move you mentioned. So actually if white comes up like this, then I think knight f4 is just equal, actually. Because you take, and then push. Oh, wait, except, hang on. Now that we get here, you're good if black takes and you take, but does white have any moves left if I play a5? If you have to back up, then you've still lost for white. Oh man, a dirty Zugzwang. Zoot. I was kind of thinking the same thing as you, Drip, but once I saw this position, I realized black didn't have to take. So this position here is just... I missed a5 too, Drip. I missed a5 too. Until the position was actually on the board. So... looks like white's in trouble. And even if we didn't have knight f4 to take, like this position is just domination for black. Right? The knight is just going to outperform the bishop in a position like this. King's in stronger position. Right? You can maneuver this knight to d4. That's going to be a problem for white as well. You can go e4, knight e5, knight f3, but then you have to worry about your g7 pawn. So maybe knight here, knight here, knight here. Might also win the game. Either white lets you take on b3, or white trades the bishop for the knight and then has a lost king and pawn ending whenever you take this. Yeah, with this king on f5, I think it's lost, actually. I know I said 85%, but I'm going to upgrade that to, I think clinically lost for a supercomputer, probably. Okay, I'll say 95%. I'm not that sure. Oh yeah, pawn endgame accentuates any disadvantage you have. That's a good call, Phyllis. Like when you're in a bad position, as in almost any kind of endgame, unless your opponent like blunders into the wrong king and pawn ending, you don't want to trade off your last piece. You've got more drawing chances in the rook ending, the bishop ending, the knight ending, the queen ending than in the king and pawn ending. Even if you're not down a pawn, if it's just like a positional disadvantage, if it's just something like your opponent's king is one row further up than yours, like that's exactly the kind of stuff you can lose an endgame over. A5 instead isn't going to change anything, is it, Trent? We'll just play like knight f4 and then king here anyway. Or actually, we can do something even sicker to white. Look at this. Do you know about this? You just box the guy out. Say, sorry, white. You're not going anywhere. That's like completely the end. All right, so let's check back in on the game for a bit here. Oh, it's only here. What? Alexa's been thinking like 10 minutes about where to move the king? I guess it was fine for us to go on a long sidetrack about another endgame. And we learned a great lesson about, you know, that king coming up. I love to just bring the king up in the endgame Drit. It's like amazing what you can do when your king gets into better position than the opponent's king. It's really super. Presumably, he's not really considering king h2 or h1, so it's just between g2 and f1 here. I don't know what you're thanking me for, Chesstalk, but you are welcome as always for anything. I'm going to refill my water. Whoop. When I was an up-and-coming chess player, there was only one thing about chess that I hated initially. One single thing. But a big thing. It was endgames. All of them. Everything about endgames. Boring, boring, boring. I don't understand. I don't know what's going on. Boring, boring. You know, I crush somebody and I'm up so many pieces they should resign, and then I don't know how to win the endgame and it's a draw. Absolutely, like the one thing I hated. And now I feel like, despite me having started out there, I feel like we're creating an army of endgame lovers here in the dojo. I mean, don't a lot of you guys like this stuff now, actually? Isn't it like interesting to see like a king just sort of like get up the board and then do whatever he wants with the game? Aren't you guys looking forward to the next episode of Endgame Sensei? Starting in 45.5 minutes right here on Chess Dojo. I feel like there's like a huge group of us now who really appreciate endgames. When I run those endgame only tournaments, God, I wouldn't have even entered those tournaments myself. And now I run those endgame tournaments, everybody's like, love it, love it. More endgames. Yeah, I'm like a silly gambeteer too, Thorbittles. And now it's just, it's wonderful. You read 100 endgames you must know and then immediately forgot the whole thing. It's not too cold here right now, Ilgson. I'm in board shorts and a t-shirt. It's nice in California today. McCarrot pre-moved in classical. Well, he had 12 minutes, folks, to figure out his pre-move right here. 12 minutes. So there you go. The classical pre-move. All right, so here white's both threatening to run across and trap the knight and threatening to run up here. Well, probably not through f5 because of king e6, but maybe through h5. Doop, 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 doop. Hey, Linear Stork. Yeah, Lane Haas. I don't know queen endings. That's what I'm going to study next as soon as I'm done with the knight endgame book from Averbach. So maybe we will hate queen endgames less once we know more about them. If you want to study along with me on those. I think Desert Pagel, he knew he couldn't trap the knight. Coming this way was a faster way to get to the knight, but it had a way out. So instead, he chose to sort of combine two different ideas with the king going to h5 or going to d3. Kind of like the Richard Retzi idea, right? Moving in two directions at once with the king. Next move he'll have to choose, though. From here, he also prevents the idea of e4 and king e5, because he's got e4 covered. Endgame studies are super hard, Phyllis. Like, I can't even find endgame studies at my level, really. They're all like 1 hour of agony for me. The endgame studies I have. Which is great, but I would love some endgame studies that I could solve in like 10 to 15 minutes, because it would be better on stream, you know. 10 to 15 minutes is still like a good solid effort for me. And it's not as agonizing, I imagine, for like the people watching. I think when I'm on here looking at one position without talking or moving for an hour, that starts to like push some people away from our channel. I think that kind of like, that's a little bit too much. But maybe one day I'll troll all of you guys by doing that. I'll put on a stream, just put one really hard position there, and then not say anything for like 10 hours and see how many people are left at the end of 10 hours. Jeez, you guys are just gold hoarders now. What has Kostya done? All right, let's check the other position. Yeah, but see, Steve North, that position was a position I could solve in 1 second. I want like an endgame study that's interesting for me to like think about for about 10 to 15 minutes, and then I can explain it. But the endgame studies I have are all like too hard for me to solve in 10 to 15 minutes. I feel like I need minimum an hour, and I can probably solve like maybe 50% of them if I spend an hour per position. So yeah, I want something in that sweet spot where I have to actually think about it, but for a sort of acceptable period of time, given what, you know, attention spans are. Okay, b5 and the king just comes over anyway instead of going up. So I don't see why the king wouldn't have just come to d2 in this case. What was the benefit of coming around this way? Flachspieler, the position will be too difficult. Nobody will know the answer. Yeah, 1, 2, 3, 4 Modern Endgame Studies. Beautiful book, Phyllis, right? But super hard positions. Oof. I either have that book or lost that book, but it's a nice one. You're not ready. We accept people at all levels, Linear Stork. We've got people coming in who've been playing for one day and they're rated, 173, and they want like a become a master quick scheme or something like that. And we welcome them too. Um, Ilgson, I have one aunt in Germany who I visited before a couple years before the pandemic, a couple years ago. Yeah. She's awesome. She came to America and brought me to my first chess tournament that was outside of California. We were just emailing about it recently. Okay, let's check our other position for a moment. So h3, rook d8, rook a d1, bishop e7, a3, a5, rook d2, rook b1. Okay. Somebody was saying that white squandered their advantage by playing these a3 and h3 moves. Yeah, I like living in California. California's pretty good. That way you can learn all the chess terms in Swedish as well that you've been only learning in English. Otherwise, one day you'll go to a local chess club and you'll be like saying English words when you talk to other Swedes. You'll be talking normally in Swedish, then like you'll be talking about some chess concept and you'll have to be like, the pin. Where you want to live one day. I mean, ultimately, I think a lot of people choose to live, near their friends and family. But if you're just talking like the funnest places to live, I would think in the States, the best place to live would probably be Hawaii. That'll be my guess. So Falk, you don't like watch any chess materials in German? I think I've only once done a German chess broadcast. And before I did the broadcast, I like looked up a couple chess terms to like know their translations in German. Cause like if we just want to talk about like, walk down the street and get like a pizza and whatever, like I can talk about random stuff like that in German. But I was like, I don't really know some of this, like, I don't really know some, like, normal chess words in German. Many of the chess terms are in German. Those obviously, we all know. Oh, no, it sounds wrong to you when they use German terms. That's crazy. A fork is a Gaffel? Wow. Oh, maybe that's in Swedish or something. In German, a fork is a Gabel. The Pacific Northwest? Yeah. I would think Pleafers after Hawaii, my second favorite place to live would maybe be like Oregon or something. Okay, so Swedish fork is gaffel. That's funny. That sounds funny to me. No offense to anybody, but gaffel, yeah. That's pretty funny. Just lightly beaten. That's a good feeling, right? Share W mono. When somebody beats you up and you're like, I could take that. I could take a few more punches. Kniv och gaffel. Kniv. Is it kniv or knife? Is it like a small I or a... Kniv. Wow. Kniv. Kniv och gaffel. Gaffel. I ate my opponent mit Kniv och gaffel. Yeah, the Läufer, the runner. That was understandable. Mit Kniv och gaffel. Oh, gaffel. Yeah, this pawn here, restraining white structure big time. If you ever play b3, you're left with a weakness. If you think you can deal with it with your bishop, black's happy to play b5, takes, and then put the knight on d5. Drit might be right about this. It's like hard to show a white advantage here. Definitely this rook is now useless on the b file. Might as well move it somewhere else. Maybe there could be an idea of like c5 to try and cut this pawn off and attack it with like a rook on c4 and then a bishop on c2. Jesse could tell us some things about this. Oh yeah, c5 gives us a backwards pawn and gives black an outpost on d5. c5 looks all kinds of terrible. I know that. It's just an idea to try and win the game, you know? I didn't say it wasn't terrible. I just said it was a way to try to win the game. See, Menchik played a terrible move too because Menchik wants to win this game. I mean, ugly, 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 right? Black's move a4 prevented it. Menchik plays it anyway. He doesn't even care how ugly it is. He just wants to win the game. He's trying to attack something. I wouldn't have a long-time idea for my own d4 weakness. My idea would be to play rook c4, bishop c2, and win the pawn on a4 in that c5 line. And then once I'm up a pawn, you know, rearrange my pieces and advance my pawn majority, which would be a4, b4, b5, probably. Something like that. The Springer Publishing House, yeah. Yeah, I don't have a plan for fixing my own weakness there. Oh man. Coast, you hitting me up with the new power. I guess Jesse probably came through with tech support for us finally. This was the one thing that Coasty and I needed to learn about computers from Jesse. No, he didn't send me any lights yet. I have to order them on my own at some point here. B3, nice. And carrot and patata, we're at here, B5, A5. Oof. McCarrot can smell it. He can smell the chance. Okay, so here you want to trade pawns as black. You don't want to push. If you trade, it gives you two targets that you can attack with your knight, whereas b4 gives you only one. However, if you trade, then your knight may actually be trapped. Hang on. Oh, it can go through knight a2 to b4. Yeah, okay. So I believe that black should trade once and then... Yeah. And then play knight a2 to b4, I guess. Black's definitely knocking. McCarrot is knocking and locking. He locks it all up. I don't know that he could win now. That looks very locked. That looks very locked. White now has one weakness in a pretty locked position. Let me just check the Discord here for a second. All right, it's a whole discussion of how we should handle our calendar so people can figure out the schedule of dojo shows. Oh, nice. Nice. Good news. Hokey's going to figure this thing out for us. This is really good news. Oh, thanks, Dubia Savant. Thank you, thank you. Awesome. Oh, we appreciate you too. I know it looks like a macho guy with a headband, but look, here's a very, very not macho guy making a heart for you. Oh man, Hokey's gonna make everything nicer, you guys. He's gonna make everything nicer. Wonderful. Our our schedule alpha can, and the area below. Apparently, it's going to revamp the area when you scroll down from the viewer where it shows like schedule, donate, Discord, bits, and stuff like that. That area is going to become like nicer and easier to find information in. Exactly. Heroic. Just what we needed. Yeah, Findle, I'm Rev on Discord. So, folks, is it a dead draw, or is McCarrot still knocking here after locking it up here? $488 and did a checkmate that you learned here. Demon, it's beautiful. You've checked out the video. Have you started doing tactics every day, Demon? Did you check out the new player video and see my method for learning more checkmates than you can learn just on stream here? Yeah. So you're learning 2 or 3 new patterns every day at this point already? Beautiful. Beautiful. I would say now you are getting pretty close to 500. Maybe tomorrow in the Mega Rapid. Maybe tomorrow in the Mega Rapid, you would just need like one upset to hit 500. Which reminds me, the Mega Rapid Dojo April Championship tomorrow, 10 a.m. Pacific. That's an hour and 40 minutes earlier than now. Don't be late because we're starting on time. The more people start in the first round, the more people can late join later. So if you're on time, some other person who can't figure out their schedule will get to late join and they'll be able to play thanks to you having been on time. They will thank you. They will be full of gratitude for everybody who showed up in round 1. Oh, nothing hokey. I was just, kind of reading our Discord thread on air for everybody. We're looking forward to a streamlined schedule, basically. That's the nice thing. A streamlined schedule that people can find more easily. It's going to be nice. Yeah, that's the 0 to 1200 video share, W Mono. That's all you need to get to 1200. That one video and then doing the stuff it says. Okay, the knight makes a move. I suppose the king could come here and contain it if you don't want the knight to start maneuvering. Once the knight starts maneuvering, there's no telling where it's going to hop. So some people like to not let their opponent's knights move. I never know where my opponent's knight's going to show up, so I don't want it to start. I don't want it to start. I do hope you get a good night's sleep, Flashbeer. That'll be clutch. If king d2, can black play e4 as a pawn sack, bishop takes e4, king e5? Yes. I don't think black could lose by doing that pawn sack. I think white could hold on. I don't think that white would lose to that e4 move, but you can definitely try it as black. You can try pressing like that, absolutely. So I'll just show you guys. This is the question being asked, right? From Douglas. Can black play e4, bishop takes e4, and get the king in? Absolutely. Absolutely, you can try this as black. Maybe best move for white would now be king e3, defending the bishop and letting this knight get going. And if the knight goes here, you play f4 check, backing them up, and then you drop back to defend your pawn. I think you can see white is in still absolutely no danger of losing. In fact, it's probably only black who risks something by giving up that pawn. Anyway, here's the original position. Back again. That king e3 was important, right, Douglas? Letting the knight move for a second, but then... Actually, I'm going to leave computer audio on this Discord call while they're getting set up. Nice, Raphael. You passed another milestone, and now you just want to sit on your rating? Just take a picture of it. Just take a screenshot of your rating and keep playing chess. I mean, I'd rather be 1,000 and playing chess than 1,100 and not playing. All right, and our other game, b3, led to a trade. Yeah, we need people like that. We need people who go out there, win points in the general pool, and then come back to the tournaments and give the points only to dojo people. Absolutely. So, for your service, Thorbiddles, we thank you. Exactly. Hang that picture on your wall. Yeah, Host Pud, this is kind of the new Sunday Night Fights. And I know people missed it, but we're basically, at the moment, we're kind of like switching it into these weekly classical tournaments, which Menchik and Patata are playing the last round of the April one here. And we're doing commentary Saturday morning instead of Sunday evening. And I think that works better at the moment. Hang on, I'm confused by some of the sounds I'm getting here. Okay, I fixed it. Sorry, guys. All right. Yeah, so anyway, so Saturday morning we'll be doing some commentary. I'll be doing commentary this Saturday on games from the Classical, the last week of the April Classical, and that'll be kind of like Sunday Night Fights. Especially if Jesse or Kostya want to come join me for that. That'd be awesome to do it, to hang out together some week. But this weekend, Kostya has to do the Vote Chess match on Sunday because I'm busy on Sunday. So anyway, Endgame Sensei is going to be our chance to hang out together. Takes. Here. So now white could take this pawn and black would take back with the bishop. And white chooses to hang on to this poor, sick puppy over here with rook a2. And still, if rook b7, black could probably snip on a3. So is white wanting to play a4? Maybe c5? Try and get this? Still a long road to an advantage for white. Hey, Pikes Nikesy. Oh, Lane Haas is saying white could take, and then after bishop takes a3, go rook c7, and that's enough for a white advantage. I guess so. Black doesn't have rook c8 available, and if black plays rook a6, white has the move c5, stretching the rook's defenses. Okay, so there's sort of a threat maybe of rook takes b7 already. Some people suggested rook a7 as a defense, but it's very risky to go onto that diagonal. I mean, if white plays d5, I would guess that something bad would happen to black. Do you guys want to confirm that? If the rook moves somewhere, then we get here, here, and this thing going, right? And I guess the other option for black would be c5, trying to block this and keep the rook defending, but that's unpleasant. And white probably makes one trade and then comes in with the rook and claims like a clear advantage for white in this position here. Black can defend the pawn, but it seems pretty nice for white. Maybe I exaggerate. Okay, so here we are. Black just played rook to d8. So we're going to find out if rook b7 is a thing or not, right? Because it's white's move here. And black did not play some kind of defensive move on that pawn. I mean, I guess rook b8, bishop f4 was a concern. And rook a7, we already talked about a potential concern with rook a7. So maybe there wasn't any sort of like simple defend it move. So we get more complications, right? Black's rook is looking at the bishop on d3, and black's hoping or planning to have some kind of tactical move coming up on the d4 pawn to show this liability from white after potentially rook b7, bishop a3, rook c7, right? Maybe black's going to play c5 there. Okay, white played a4. We talked about that maybe Menchik's plan was to put the pawn on a4 where the bishop can take it and make this a real threat. And I think Batata may just be planning to play here. With the bishop defended, c5 or e5, white can possibly just take it at this point. So it may not yet be feasible to play these moves. Sorry, Pizza Racer. There's no room for a tripod. There's no room for a tripod. I guess it did start getting a little bit colder in here now. It's outside that it's nice, and I guess I've been inside seated here too long. Maybe it's time to stand up, huh? Get some blood flowing. All right, that's good. Ooh, the endgame sensei is ready. The endgame sensei is ready. Now we just wonder if Kostya's ready. Have you ever been to exercise.com, Flachspieler? I don't even know what those are, Pizza Racer. More push-ups. Oh, somebody was asking when the wrap would be tomorrow. If we get 150 registrants in the Mega Rapid, I will perform a wrap towards the end of the tournament. So probably around 3 p.m. No, you've never been to it. It did fizzle out. I'm surprised you've heard about it. Just curious how or when you'd heard about that venture. All right. Can we figure out the result of this game before we go to Endgame Sensei? Maybe Jesse will make Kostya and me play this one out. You should definitely take a sick day, Neo Chance. If you take a sick day, I'll spit something sick for you. Yeah, this is definitely feeling drawish to me. Maybe we can call it and go to Endgame Sensei. SME or SM Tigger and SM Piglet join the tournament. Very nice. Yeah, I just don't see anything for white or black to do anymore here. I gotta agree. I'm out of ideas. All right, guys, stay tuned for Endgame Sensei coming to you within some couple seconds here. All right, I'll be right back to face Kostya Kavutskiy.